Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because today we're diving into something absolutely incredible that happened behind the scenes of BTS's upcoming album ARIRANG. And trust me, you do not want to miss this. We're talking about Jimin achieving a vocal feat that left even seasoned Hollywood producers completely speechless. So grab your snacks, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Alright, so before we jump into the main story, let me set the scene for you. Early 2026, BTS has just reunited after completing their military service. The entire group flew to Los Angeles, not just for a casual visit, but to record what might be their most ambitious album yet. Now, why LA? Well, LA offers the perfect combination of privacy and access to some of the best music production facilities in the world. We're talking about studios where legends like Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, and more recently The Weeknd have recorded their Grammy-winning albums. So yeah, BTS wasn't playing around with this comeback. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Director Baungwin, who you might know from his critically acclaimed documentaries, was given unprecedented access to film the entire recording process. And guys, when I say unprecedented, I mean they literally captured moments that fans have never seen before. This isn't your typical polished behind-the-scenes content. This is raw, unfiltered, real footage of what actually happens when artists are creating at the highest level. So let's talk about the day everything changed. Jimin arrived at the studio early in the morning, and the cameras caught him looking surprisingly casual. We're not talking about staged Jimin with perfect hair and makeup. This is real Jimin with his hair still damp from the shower, carrying his morning Americano, just looking like a regular guy about to go to work. But here's what's crazy. Before he even stepped into the recording booth, Jimin spent over an hour doing vocal warm-ups. And according to the documentary, this wasn't just some casual humming. This was a disciplined routine that he developed during his military service, where he learned the importance of physical and mental preparation. Now, the producer working with Jimin on this particular track was Marcus Williams. For those who don't know, Marcus is an absolute legend in the industry. This man has worked with Ariana Grande, Bruno Mars, Beyoncé, basically everyone who's anyone in music. And get this, Marcus admitted in the documentary that he was initially skeptical about Jimin's vocal range based on previous recordings. But what he witnessed in that LA studio completely changed his perspective. Marcus literally said that Jimin's voice had undergone a transformation that went beyond just technique. We're talking about emotional maturity, depth, and a level of artistry that you just can't fake. The song they were working on was this beautiful R&B ballad with traditional Korean elements, and the lyrics were deeply personal. It's about coming home, about the journey of being separated, and then reuniting with parts of yourself that you thought you'd lost. For Jimin and the other BTS members, this theme hit different because they had just gone through this exact experience during their military service. So the emotion behind this track wasn't manufactured. It was real. It was raw. It was lived experience. Here's where the story gets really good. They started the recording session with a few practice takes, and Jimin sounded good. Like, professionally good. Perfect pitch, perfect control. Everything you'd expect from someone who's been performing at the highest level for years. But Marcus felt something was missing. So in this incredible moment caught on camera, Marcus actually stopped the recording, walked out of the control room, and went into the booth to talk to Jimin face-to-face. And guys, this conversation was captured through the studio microphones, and it's honestly one of the most powerful moments in the documentary. Marcus started asking Jimin about his military experience. Not the generic stuff, but the real emotional stuff. He asked about the nights when Jimin missed the stage, about the fear that maybe his voice wouldn't be the same when he came back, about the doubt and the insecurity. And Jimin, who usually keeps this kind of stuff private, actually opened up. He talked about practicing vocals quietly in the barracks with his earphones so he wouldn't disturb his fellow soldiers. He talked about the fear that maybe Army would forget about them. He talked about lying awake at night wondering if he'd ever feel that rush of performing again. This conversation lasted about 30 minutes, and by the end of it, you could see something had shifted in Jimin. Marcus then gave him one simple instruction. Forget about technique, forget about being perfect. Just sing like you're back in those dark nights in the military, singing for yourself, for that part of you that missed the light of the stage. And what happened next? Guys, I'm getting chills just talking about it. What happened next was absolutely magical. Jimin started the opening verse softer than before, almost like a whisper, but with this intensity that you could literally feel through the studio speakers. And then when the song reached the bridge, where you need to transition from chest voice to head voice across this incredibly wide range, Jimin didn't just nail the transition. He went beyond what was even written in the composition. He hit a note that wasn't supposed to be there, a note that came purely from the emotion of the moment. Marcus and the sound engineer literally looked at each other in disbelief. They immediately checked the spectrum analyzer because they needed to confirm that what they were hearing was actually real and not some kind of digital artifact. And here's the crazy part. Jimin had reached a high C sharp. For those who don't know music theory, let me put this in perspective. A high C sharp is incredibly challenging even for trained vocalists. It's a note that opera singers spend years learning to reach. But Jimin didn't just hit it. He sustained it with perfect stability for almost 5 seconds while maintaining absolute clarity and emotional delivery. This wasn't just a scream or a forced high note. This was controlled power. This was the kind of technical mastery that usually only comes from decades of classical training. And the most insane part? This was the first take after his conversation with Marcus. No special warm-up, no technical preparation, nothing. This was pure emotion channeled through years of preparation and a newfound emotional maturity. When the song ended, there was complete silence in the studio for several seconds. Even Jimin looked surprised at what he'd just done. He took off his headphones and looked at the control room with this expression that was like, did that really just happen? And Marcus, this veteran producer who's worked with the biggest names in music, pressed the intercom button and with a voice shaking with emotion said, "That was it. That's the one. Don't touch anything, we're using this take." Now, for a producer known for being a perfectionist who usually makes artists do dozens of takes, this reaction was incredibly unusual. But Marcus knew that what had just been captured was what they call in the industry, lightning in a bottle. A moment so perfect that trying to recreate it would be impossible. There's magic in vulnerability. There's power in the willingness to truly let yourself be felt through the music. The documentary then shows the mixing session a few days later, where Marcus played this take for the other BTS members who came to the studio to hear the album's progress. And guys, their reactions were everything. RM covered his mouth with his hand, his eyes wide in shock. Jungkook, sitting next to Jimin, turned to look at his Hyung like he was seeing him for the first time. Jin, who's usually so playful, was completely serious, nodding along to the melody. Suga, who rarely shows excessive emotion, was seen wiping something from the corner of his eye. J-Hope literally gave a standing ovation. And V just sat there with this huge, proud smile on his face. But what really hit me was RM's comment that was recorded in the documentary. As the leader who's seen Jimin grow from a trainee to a global superstar, RM said something incredibly profound. He explained that for years, Jimin had been the hardest on himself, always feeling like he had to prove that he deserved to be in BTS, that his vocals were good enough, that his dancing was perfect enough. But in this recording, for the first time, RM heard a Jimin who wasn't trying to prove anything. This was Jimin finally believing in his own voice, no longer singing from a place of insecurity, but from a place of confidence and self-acceptance. Director Bao Nguyen captured all these nuances brilliantly. He didn't just record the vocal breakthrough, he captured the emotional and personal context that made it possible. The documentary includes throwback footage of Jimin early in his career, struggling with high notes and looking frustrated in the practice room. There's also clips from old variety shows where Jimin admitted feeling inferior compared to other main vocalists in K-pop. All of this is contrasted with the LA studio moment, creating this powerful narrative arc that shows this wasn't just about technique, it was about a long and often painful journey of personal growth. A vocal coach from Berklee College of Music who was consulted for the documentary provided some technical analysis that really puts this achievement into perspective. She explained that reaching a high C sharp with the clarity and emotional depth that Jimin achieved requires a rare combination of natural talent, proper training, and most importantly, the psychological readiness to truly let go and trust your instrument. Many vocalists have the physical capability to hit those notes, but fail because of tension or fear. Jimin succeeded because he'd reached a point in his life where he was no longer singing to prove something to others, but to express his personal truth. In the context of the ARIRANG album as a whole, this track became the centerpiece that showcases not just Jimin's evolution as a vocalist, but BTS's artistic maturity as a group. They're no longer making safe music or music calculated for chart performance. They're making music that's real, risky, and vulnerable. And Jimin, with this vocal breakthrough, became the embodiment of this new artistic philosophy. Marcus Williams said in a separate interview that working with BTS on this album changed his perception of K-pop. He realized this wasn't about an idol group following a formula anymore. This was about true artists who happened to be from Korea, bringing their unique perspective to the global music conversation. And honestly, that statement alone should tell you how significant this moment was. The documentary also captured more intimate moments after the recording was done. Jimin is shown sitting alone in the studio booth, still holding his headphones, looking contemplative. In a voiceover, he shared his reflection on what had just happened. He said that he'd always thought that to become a better vocalist, he needed more technique, more training, more control. But what he learned in that LA studio was that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is let go of control, trust the work you've already put in, and allow yourself to feel everything and channel it through your voice without filter or fear. This breakthrough also had a wider impact on the group dynamic. In a group discussion recorded for the documentary, you can see how Jimin's achievement inspired the other members to push their own boundaries. Jungkook talked about wanting to explore deeper into his lower register. Jin discussed experimenting with falsetto techniques. They expressed interest in trying unconventional phrasing. It created this creative momentum where every member felt empowered to take artistic risks, knowing they had a support system that valued authenticity over perfection. What's particularly fascinating is how this moment connects to Jimin's entire artistic journey. If you've been following BTS since their early days, you know that Jimin has always been known primarily as the main dancer. His vocals, while always beautiful, were sometimes overshadowed by the powerhouse vocalists in the group. But over the years, we've watched Jimin quietly and consistently work on his craft. From Lie to Serendipity to Filter, and then his solo albums Face and Muse, each release showed incremental growth. But this moment in the ARIRANG recording session represents a quantum leap, not just an incremental step. The studio engineers who were present that day also shared their perspectives in the documentary. One engineer, who's worked on over 50 platinum albums, said that in his entire career, he's only witnessed maybe 4 or 5 moments where an artist truly transcended their previous capabilities in a single take. He compared it to watching an athlete break a world record. It's not just about the physical achievement, but about witnessing human potential being realized in real time. The fact that this happened to Jimin, who has always been so hard on himself, made it even more poignant. There's also an interesting technical aspect that the documentary explores. The acoustic properties of the LA studio they were using played a role in capturing the fullness of Jimin's voice. The room has this specific reverb quality that doesn't add artificial enhancement, but rather reveals the true timbre and resonance of a voice. So when Jimin hit that high C sharp, the room itself seemed to respond, creating this almost ethereal quality to the sound. The mixing engineer explained that they barely had to add any effects or post-production to the vocal track because the raw recording was already so perfect. Another layer to this story is the cultural significance. Here you have a Korean artist working with American producers in an American studio, creating music that blends Eastern and Western influences and achieving a level of vocal excellence that transcends any cultural boundaries. It's a perfect metaphor for what BTS has always represented, the breaking down of barriers and the universal language of authentic artistry. Marcus Williams touched on this in the documentary, saying that working with Jimin reminded him that great music has no nationality, no language barrier. It's about truth, emotion, and the courage to be vulnerable. Marcus Williams, in the final segment about this topic in the documentary, gave a statement that perfectly summarizes this historic moment. He said that in his 30 years in the music industry, he's worked with countless talented vocalists, but it's incredibly rare to witness the exact moment when an artist breaks through their own limitations, not just technical but psychological. What he witnessed with Jimin in that LA studio was one of those moments, and he felt privileged that it was captured and will be seen by millions of fans who supported Jimin's journey from the beginning. The vocal record that Jimin broke in the ARIRANG recording isn't just a number or a technical achievement, that can be measured on a frequency spectrum. It's a manifestation of a profound, personal transformation, a journey from a young artist full of doubt to a mature performer who fully owns his artistry. And the most beautiful thing about this moment is that it's not an ending. It's the beginning of a new chapter in Jimin and BTS's career, a chapter where they're no longer constrained by expectations or limitations imposed by others or even by themselves. So guys, that's the incredible story of Jimin's vocal breakthrough during the ARIRANG recording sessions. The documentary, BTS, The Return, premieres on Netflix on March 27, 2026, and honestly, after learning about moments like this, I cannot wait to see it. If you're as excited as I am, drop a comment below and let me know what you think about Jimin's achievement. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any updates about BTS's comeback. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out!